Yo, what's up guys? Felix from Giant Lifestyle. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be discussing real estate wholesaling terminology / doing a question and answer. So about 4 months ago, I posted a real estate wholesaling video regarding my first real estate wholesale deal, and I had no idea how many people were really interested in becoming a real estate investor. Now, real estate wholesaling is a strategy that can allow you to get involved with real estate with no money, no credit, and no upfront startup capital. And in this video, I'm going to be touching on some of the comments, questions, DMs, and all forms of reach out that people have been messaging me, asking me to help them with their first deal, asking me what are contracts, what are comparables, how do you find sellers, everything. So these are some of the most common questions I've seen, and without further ado, let's get right into the video. So wholesaling real estate is basically the concept of you finding someone who is motivated to sell their property, and you act as a middleman, and you basically get the property under contract as if you were going to buy it, and then instead of actually buying it, you flip that contract to a real estate investor. Now, I've done all levels of real estate, not developing properties, like building them from the ground up, but I have wholesaled, did 2 deals like that, leveled up to fix and flip where I'm buying properties from wholesalers, and then now I own over a dozen rental units where I'm buying properties, holding onto them for long-term cash flow. But like I said, wholesaling is a great strategy that you can use to get started in real estate with literally no money, no credit, no experience, just a little bit of hustle. If you have the drive, if you have the ambition to go out there and find those deals that are kind of a needle in a haystack, then you can make yourself some pretty good money. It's not uncommon for wholesalers to do deals $5, $10, $15, $25, $30,000 at each closing. So the first question we have is, how old do you have to be? So you have to be 18 years old at least to get a property under contract and make it a legal binding contract. The 2 options that you have if you're not 18 is, number 1, you might be able to get your parents to sign the contract in place of you, or if you talk to another wholesaler or another buyer, you can explain the situation. And I remember when I first started as a 19-year-old wholesaler, all of the other investors in my market, the other wholesalers, had massive amounts of respect for me. So I doubt any wholesaler or other investors would try to be grimy and try to snake the deal out of you. If you found the deal and you explained the situation, they might be able to put it in their name and give you a cut or give you 50-50, and that's the answer. So 18, but just because you're not 18, I wouldn't limit myself to doing this business. The next one is, do you need to know how to sell? So you don't really need any skills. That's why wholesaling is so good. You don't need money. You don't need good credit. What I would say is you are somewhat of a people person, but it's not required you to be the most outgoing person in the world. As long as you're not afraid to have a decent conversation while you go to the seller's home. Sorry about that, that's my phone. As long as you're not afraid to go to the seller's home and have a decent conversation and a real conversation and try to build rapport, because the one thing that I've noticed that helped me in all of my deals is that you have to be, you have to have a decent conversation. And I'm pretty introverted. I don't like talking to a bunch of random people, but as long as you're friendly and you're nice and you're not rude, then you really should be fine. You don't need to know how to sell. You don't need to know how to be amazing on the phone. All of these things will come over time. The more people you talk to, even if you're the most introverted person in the world, you will get better with people. I used to be terrified to talk on camera. I used to be super socially awkward, and over time with practice, I got better at all of that. Where do you get the contract? So a lot of people want to know, where do we get these contracts? You could do one of 2 things. Number 1, you can go on Google. You can go to a real estate investing site like Bigger Pockets, or you can go in local Facebook groups for your market, and you can ask them if anybody has a real estate wholesale contract. You can even ask other wholesalers in your area, or if you don't want to do that, you can contact an attorney. Now that might be a bit pricey, so I would say go with the first route, but I'm not a legal expert and I'm not here to give legal advice. So if you want a legal binding contract, contact an attorney. But if you want a cheaper route, I would say go to a local meetup group or a local investors group, or contact a local investor. Does it cost any money to put the house under contract? So it's going to require earnest money, which is basically to lock the contract up, but it might cost $5, $10. I think my first deal I did $20. So a lot of people ask, well, what happens if I can't actually flip the house to another investor? Well, it's no issue. You basically just lose the deposit. The deposit goes to the seller, and you have a clause in the contract where it basically says that if you can't sell the property, you can basically be released from the contract. And I'll try to put on screen my additional terms inside of the contract that I used. Do I need an LLC? No, you do not. You do not need an LLC to start this business. Do you actually buy the property? No, you don't. So if here's the seller and here's the buyer, you're basically the middleman. You are not buying the property. You are just basically flipping the contract that says you're going to buy the property, because you put something in the contract that says this property is assignable. What happens if you can't actually sell the house? Like I said, you just basically back out of the deal, having a contract in the clause that says that if for any reason at all, if you cannot sell the property, you can back out of the deal. What is wholesaling? Maybe I should have put this question in the beginning, but it's basically, you're basically a middleman between a seller and a buyer. Can you wholesale in different states? Yes, there's a concept called virtual wholesaling. Me personally, I would say start in your own backyard, start in your local market before you decide to jump out there and trying to do deals in other cities or other states that you don't live in, because then you're going to have to build a team. You're going to have to get people to go in those properties. The best thing to do is to close deals in your own market, and once you build up your capital and you build up your know-how, then you can start doing virtual deals. Do you need good credit to start? You don't need any credit. You don't need any credit. You maybe need $100, $200. What you really need more than that is you need some hustle. You need the hustle to go out there and drive for dollars, go out there and find motivated sellers, go out there and be willing to make 100, 200, 300 calls in a day. The person who has more hustle will do better than the person who might have a little bit more money. How do you find sellers? So you find sellers by bandit signs. Bandit signs are those yellow plastic corrugated signs you see on the side of the street or in high trafficked areas. You can drive for dollars, which is basically driving in, good neighborhoods that might have one or two abandoned properties, and you can find out who owns them and skip trace the homeowner, call them and ask them if they're looking to sell their property. You can also get abandoned house lists. So there's companies out there that compile big lists of people, and you can basically contact them via a letter, or you can cold call them, or you can go on Craigslist. So those are just some of the ways. Also, I have a real estate wholesaling course down below for just $100. So if you want to learn how to do real estate wholesaling, and if you want to have access to me for any questions you might have, then check out the link in the description below. I have a real estate wholesaling course for just $100. What do you ask the seller? So this is actually a very good question. Basically what you ask the seller is, why are they looking to sell? First off, when you get on the phone, you want to ask them, hey, tell me about the house. How many beds, how many baths, how many square feet? What's wrong with the house? Does it need any repairs? Does it have a basement? Those are kind of all questions just to get the seller talking. The most important question is, why are you selling? If someone says, hey, I lived in this house, I'm looking to get exactly what I paid for it, they're not motivated. But if they tell you something like, look, I don't care what I get for the house, I need to sell it now, I need to be out of this house in the next 30 days, that's someone who's motivated. So you want to find out what's the reason for selling and how quick are they looking to sell. What are comps? So comps are basically comparables. That is what other properties in the area are selling for. And you find out comps based on, when I have that video on my channel as well that shows you how to run comps using a free strategy with Zillow. It's best to get access to the MLS, which is the multiple listing service, but that can cost money and you might need to go through an agent or a realtor to get that. But that's basically what properties in the area are going for, and that will be able to tell you what you need to get the property under contract. Following by my next question, how do you know what to offer? So you typically want to offer 65% of what the property is worth. So if the property is worth, say, $100,000, this is just for easy calculations, times 65%, that's 65,000. Minus, say the repairs are $20,000, so now you're at $45,000, and you want to make a $5,000 fee. So you need to get the property under contract for $40,000. But somebody who's not motivated and just wants full price isn't going to be willing to take a $60,000 pay cut. But for somebody who needs to be out the house in the next 30 days, might be willing to do so. The first deal I did, if you haven't seen that video yet, I got a property that was worth $230,000 to $240,000 under contract for $85K. So it's rare, but there are people out there who need to sell and are willing to take less to get a faster result. Can you use Google Maps in place of driving for dollars? So driving for dollars, like I said, is a method where you get in your car and you drive up and down the street to look for vacant properties, rundown properties, distressed properties, find out the owner and either call or mail them. Yes, you can use Google Maps, but there is a chance that the Google Maps might be outdated. I believe there's a strategy on Google Maps where you can check which date the little Google car drove by, so make sure it's within the last 6 months, because it could be outdated. But if you don't have a car, that is a strategy. And that's all I have. So those are some of the most common questions I've seen on my video. Like I said, I do have a wholesaling course down in the description below, which talks about how to go out and become a real estate wholesaler, how to find sellers, what to say to sellers, how to close a deal, and how to make money real estate wholesaling. Again, I have a bunch of other business models and links down in the description below, also on my channel. If you guys are interested, be sure to check them out. If you enjoyed this video, put a thumbs up on it and subscribe to the channel. Again, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.